Well, it's not every day you get to sit down with a living legend, someone who's harder to book than a Michael Jordan, a Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, anyone you want to put out there. This guy is with my white whale. Let's get on the podcast, and I'm finally sitting down here in the bar, in the basement with him on this first day of October. It is the one and only original member of the Dishman and Swishing podcast, Joe Calabrese.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back.
Joey Cals has come back to the basement.
That sounds so bad.
We've had what?
I only come around when the big time months come around.
Oh, okay, so when hockey and basketball starting up, when baseball playoffs hit and the NFL starts, that's when Joe comes around.
I'm back.
Oh my! It's been what? It's been over a month, I think.
Yes,
2 months. Probably since
the last time I did this was
Gene
August.
Come here, a lot of solo podcasts. I had a lot of no debating. Come on, Nick traveled in from Queens for God's sake for a couple podcasts here.
You did a great job,
and yeah, it was good. It was like the old days back in BU, but it's good to have you here. Hopefully, we get into some debates here, some good conversation. We're going to touch all things NFL. Going to hit on the MLB playoff race, maybe some quick basketball, Vegas related gambling talk for all those degenerates out there. Anyway, what's wrong with you? I'll give you this. I'll give you a couple minutes to gloat about your fantasy football team.
My fantasy football team that has, believe it or not, I was riding high until Goose put up 200 plus points.
Oh, right.
I scored 180 last week, and he scored 50 more than I did.
Who did he have?
So do the math at home. And
Jamal Charles, and he had Devontae Freeman, who had 40 points each.
Yeah, he had Steve Smith, who had 40 points. So right there, that's 110 points, not even half your team.
Yeah, we didn't have you on the Dish and Swishing fantasy podcast. It was me and Gene here, and we giving our secrets away, and I guess you were home listening, and we didn't hear any of your secrets. There was no articles or podcasts from you, and you seem to have the luck of the draft because you're in first place now by a very wide margin.
Yeah. It's only 3 weeks. I'm only 3 now. My draft strategy was going with the average draft position. So if you notice my team, and if you notice, I did a couple of trades actually on draft day. Traded up for Andrew Luck, which actually hasn't looked so good so far.
No, it's pretty bad.
It actually looks, yeah. Out of my first 8 or so picks, that's actually my worst one. And Charles Johnson. I kind of bought into the hype factor a little bit. But then again, I bought into the hype of guys like Tyler Eifert, and now he's one of the top 5 fantasy tight ends.
No,
so.
Your team can definitely get better, and you have guys like Victor Cruz on the bench, who, if he comes back healthy, I know he's supposed to play this week, but he's not because the calf. He's a guy who can come back and catch you 60, 65 balls, and a good guy to have. If Charles Johnson just turned around and a great pick, you have a bunch of really good running backs on the bench too.
Yeah.
So overall, a pretty strong.
I got
draft.
lucky. I got a little lucky with Danny Woodhead too, but I think the strength of my draft right now is that it was so balanced, and it just so happens that over the first couple of weeks, a lot of guys have been scoring a lot at once. Look at Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall has had probably 3 weeks where, I expected him to be like high wide receiver 3, low wide receiver 2, and he's performing closer to
one. He's
like
one.
close
He's
wide
better
receiver
receivers in the league.
one.
It's like old home week. You have Brandon Marshall and Larry Fitzgerald performing again. It's just all these old timers are showing up.
If you notice, I had the 8th overall pick, so I took Julio Jones, right? And on my list, I had Antonio and Julio like 1A, 1B.
Right.
And I was going to take Julio regardless, so I would have taken him over Demaryius Thomas, too, who went the pick before.
I'd agree with that.
And Des Bryant went 10th to Eric. So I had a good judgment with Julio. Marshawn Lynch right now, he's a little banged up, but we know what Lynch is, and he doesn't really get hurt often, so I expect him to play Monday night. Probably will play on a limited basis like Lacey did, this past Monday night. But Lynch is somebody good. He'll get it straightened out. I feel the same way about Luck.
All right.
The Amari Cooper and Mark Ingram picks look weird because it feels like they should be flipped. It feels like I should have taken Ingram in the 4th when he was going, and Cooper in the 5th where he was going. But our drafts work a little bit different. But yeah,
it's a very solid draft.
Considering I was the worst team in the league last year by a very large margin, one of the worst teams that our league has ever put out, and now I went from literally one of the worst to one of the best very quickly. I'm very lucky that I had a nice draft.
I'll give you a moment of glory. I know you got a lot of flack during the draft, and since we did have the DNS, podcast about the fantasy football stuff, I'll say that I guess we were lost and you had the right idea, the right strategy. So kudos to you.
Quick shout out to Croft too, because he's also 3-0 and he's got a solid team, very solid. He gets Breeze back this week.
Yeah,
and even though the Saints are struggling, Breeze is still a solid option to go to.
And you notice the people who did the two guys who did the podcast about the fantasy football strategy, me and Gene are. I think Gene finally got his first win last week. I should have won. I did not, but we're in the bottom of the league, so things aren't looking too good for us. But anyway, no one cares about fantasy football teams if they're not in the league. So let's start with a bang here. Now, me and you had a pretty interesting texting conversation last week about your New York Jets over the quarterback position, and Todd Bowles has come out and said Geno Smith is not starting. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick's team the whole way. You could say they lost a trap game. I'm not sure if you consider it a trap game. I thought it was.
Oh, it was 100% a trap.
I thought it was a trap game too.
It was a trap game in every sense of the word.
I don't buy into the Eagles at all.
I don't buy into them either. But the way it came off, it sure seemed like a trap game.
So, do you want to get into what that conversation was about?
Yeah. Basically, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. The Jets are a good football team this season. They have a very, very good defense, and with the addition of Brandon Marshall, who's been a legitimate number one wide receiver, now all of a sudden they have a competent NFL offense that could score, 20, maybe 30 points. I mean, we haven't seen that explosiveness just yet. But what I was getting at is that right now the starting quarterback of the New York Jets is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, what we know from Ryan Fitzpatrick over the last 7-8 years is that he's a very solid game manager. And when he's not doing too much, he's a good player. But with that said, his ceiling is kind of a little bit limited. I think his best record in Buffalo when he was a starter there for a couple of years was 8-8, which is .500. Not really, not really lofty goals there, not really lofty expectations. Kind of.
You could always make the argument the team was not as talented as the Jets.
Oh no,
team.
It absolutely wasn't as talented. I'd argue that the most talented team that he played for before this Jets team was last year's Texans team, and he went 9-7. But the Texans obviously did not make the playoffs. So we have a general outline of how good we know Ryan Fitzpatrick could be, which is a really solid NFL-style game manager. Probably won't break the top 16 quarterbacks or so, but he's probably somewhere in that low, third tier, I guess you could say. First you got the elite guys, and you got the guys like Eli, Ben, and Flacco, and Rivers, and then after that, it's kind of a little bit of an abyss because there are only so many guys in that third tier. You could argue that a guy like Bradford right now is probably in that third tier. But when you look at Fitzpatrick, you know what you're getting. And in addition to knowing what you're getting, he has a lot of limitations, such as his arm strength. And through the first couple of weeks of the season, as well as he's played, he's also thrown 5 interceptions, which is kind of cause for concern a little bit, considering how good the talent around him has played.
One of his jobs also should be protect the football.
Right,
not
absolutely.
turn it over.
Right,
you want
absolutely.
to be a game manager, you got to be smart with the football.
Right. He's known as a glorified game manager, but he's always had that problem with interceptions, and he's always had that problem protecting the football, which is definitely cause for concern. Now, when you look at the Eagles last week, the Jets didn't have Chris Ivory, so they had to use Bilal Powell a lot more, and he ended up having 7 catches, which was a really good game. I happen to think Powell's a very good number 2 back. I think Ivory and Powell as a tandem work very well together because they are polar opposite kind of players. But with that said, the Eagles' strength in their defense right now is probably their front 7, considering how talented they are in linebacker, and they have guys like Fletcher Cox, who's borderline Pro Bowl up front. So they're very good at stopping a run. The Jets didn't have Chris Ivory, so the running game was completely out of their game plans. So it was very easy for the Eagles to set up last week's game plan, and it showed because they went up 24-0, in the first half. And they didn't score in the second half, which is a testament to how good the Jets' defense really is and how kind of fluky the circumstances of the game was. Everybody knows the Brandon Marshall lateral, dumb play.
So you're making all my points for me here. Now you still haven't even got to what your text message said.
What about who the Jets
yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what the people want to hear. That's why the people are tuning into our podcast.
In my personal opinion, probably in the minority on this one. Very much so.
You're definitely in the minority.
I'm definitely in the minority. Probably in the 2%. But I believe that Geno Smith should be the starter of the New York Jets sooner rather than later.
Yep, you heard that right. Joe thinks Geno Smith should be the starting quarterback of the New York Jets.
Absolutely.
Joe didn't think that, but you never said this You claim you said this after what, week 1 or week 2? You said this, and
from what I was gathering, reading a lot of stuff in the preseason, actually going all the way back to training camp. Actually, there were a lot of people who were very high on Geno.
Yeah, but everyone's doing really well in training camp.
No, I know
it's the hype machine. It's created by the team.
Hype machine. It's one of those things, but I think a lot of people always knew that Geno kind of had some like raw ability, some raw talent. I mean, when you look at when you lay out everything on paper, look at Geno Smith as a player. He's got a better arm. He's got a very strong arm, actually. He's very athletic. He could use his legs to move in the pocket, to move out of the pocket, to run and scramble, make plays that aren't necessarily there, and probably just to pick up some yards that wouldn't be there otherwise. Those are already two factors that he has going for himself over Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick has a lot of stuff going for him in favor of Geno. Games started. Fitzpatrick has started a lot of games in this league, and while I don't even know if he's over 500. You would have to bring up his record to
Geno Smith.
Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, he's definitely had about like 90 to 100 starts at least. Going off the top of my head, going with all those years, even dating back to like his time in Cincinnati and St. Louis, he's had a bunch of starts. But the main argument that I have for Geno over Fitzpatrick is that you know what Fitzpatrick is. Now,
you know what Geno Smith is too. A worse quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, but
don't the talent. And you're gonna put him in.
As of right now, we know that in a sink or swim situation, Geno has sunk every single time he's had the opportunity. But in all fairness to him, his number 2 wide receiver last year for a good portion of the season was Greg Salas. He was gifted a tight end, Jason Morrow, who was taken very high by John Idzik's regime, which looks like a disaster right now. And somehow this team has ended up taking the best parts of that regime, a.k.a. Demario Davis, and turning it into a bright spot now. But when you look at the team last year as opposed to this year, in 2013, they were 8-8. And they were an 8-8, and a lot of people didn't expect it. And Geno was pretty bad then, too. But there were flashes in his rookie year of maybe something competent developing. Then in year 2, he was not really given much to work with in terms of growth, in terms of advancing. He was probably given a worse supporting cast. And listen, I'm not saying that Geno's going to light the world on fire.
No, he's not.
But what I'm saying is that for this team in this position right now, the NFL is it's a league where you're judged by how you win now. And because parity is at an all-time high, a team like the Jets could go from being 4-12 last year to being an 8.
You've had your soliloquy.
It's all right.
There's no one.
I'll wait.
There's no one. I did wait. I waited for you the whole entire time. You did not make any concrete points. Has anyone in New York, or at least have you seen, overreacted about this Eagles loss? The answer is no. No one cares. No one's calling for Fitzpatrick's head. Do you want to know why? Because they won 2-0. They went into Indianapolis and beat a good Colts team, or people thought was a good Colts team, in Indy, in primetime. They won. Week 1, they demolished a bad Browns team, like they should. Week 3, like you said, classic trap game. You pointed out, they were missing Chris Ivory. They had to start Bilal Powell. Not the same player. He's a good backup. He's not Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory's he's turned into a pretty good running back in the NFL. You'd agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. He's Marshawn Lynch light to what the Jets do.
He's been very good. And then your number 2 receiver, Eric Decker, who could be a 1 on most teams in the NFL, also not playing. He's out. He missed his game too, sprained knee. So you have 2 players. So give me an offense where you have their starting running back and a top receiver out of the game. That automatically brings you down, no matter who. Take any other team. Take the Bengals, for example. You lose Marvin Jones and Hill or Bernard. Pick one. Pick any team you want. You take out their number 2 and their starting running back, and the offense is significantly worse. And that's what Ryan Fitzpatrick had to deal with a team with the Eagles, they're a decent defensive team, like you said, good front 7. Their offense was just the part that's struggling lately. That's why everyone wanted to see Chip Kelly's offense. The defense has been fine, even without Kiko Alonso. So that's the problem there. Remind me again what happened to Geno Smith early in this year.
He got his jaw rocked.
And he got his jaw rocked because people don't respect him in the locker room. Why do you want a quarterback to start for your team who's not respected in the locker room? That
is a fair point.
When IK and Compile, whatever his name is, when he crushed him. Hit him in the jaw, broke his jaw because of the childish actions in the retorts that Geno Smith gave him for not showing up to IK's charity event, whatever it was. I'm not sure exactly what kind of event it was. He didn't show up. Geno Smith said, I'm not paying you, even though I said I'm going to come. He bailed. So that's childish right there. When he was hurt and an IK was cut and all that happened, players on the team, I remember Calvin Pace saying, someone lost his job today. He was talking about IK. He wasn't talking about Geno Smith. The locker room rallied more behind him than they did about Geno Smith. Nick Mangold came out and he wasn't throwing support. I remember he went on WFAN was saying how it's a sad day when somebody has to lose their job when somebody's cut. Like Geno will be okay. No one's saying oh, you can't hit our quarterback, and no one stuck up for Geno Smith. They stuck up for IK, who hit Geno Smith. Why? Because he's not respecting the locker room. Nobody cares about him. A similar situation going on in Cleveland right now. Johnny Manziel won them a football game, through touchdowns. Josh McCown comes back in, starts, and he stinks, and no one wants him to start anymore. Is it Josh or Luke? I don't know which one it is.
It's Josh.
It is Josh. I was right.
Luke is in New Orleans.
Right. The team, bless you, sneezing on
you.
you. So no, but what they said is the players there. They went on the record anonymously. I don't know how you can go on the record if you're anonymous, but regardless, they said that they don't want McCown to start anymore. They want Manziel back because he inspires confidence. Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick inspires confidence in the Jets, and they're playing really well. He's utilizing Brandon Marshall, making him look a number one receiver that he didn't look like that in Chicago with the latter part of his career there because it was a mess. Ryan Fitzpatrick is bringing that out in him. You get back a healthy Decker. Ivory's been fine. That's a good team. Also, to even criticize that even more, I'm not going to blame this loss on Fitzpatrick like you are. It seems that way. The vibe I got from
I wasn't trying to blame the loss on Fitzpatrick.
Well, you said the Jets lost to the Eagles, and you said Fitzpatrick should not be starting. Geno Smith should be starting. From that game, the issues I saw in that game, number one, a return touchdown that Sproles brought back. Number two, a really dumb, boneheaded play by Brandon Marshall laddering it back. And a third dumb play, or second dumb play by Marshall, even though you could, I'm not gonna sit here and poo-poo a win. The Eagles won fair and square. It's their win. They deserve to win. And the third play, what I said was when he had the alligator arms, when the ball was up in the air by the sidelines and turned to a interception, they scored off that drive. Again, another dumb play. Marshall not thinking about there could be a defender behind him. So again, two bad plays on Marshall, a return touchdown. That's three big plays in the game that changed the whole entire outcome of the game. It wasn't like Fitzpatrick lost in the game and had a chance to they brought the team back. They were close. So I can't sit here and say Geno Smith should be starting for those reasons. I think it'd be a total bad move they did. No one here is pressuring them. The bolsters the team going the right direction. It was an unfortunate game with bad special teams, bad plays by Marshall, and that changed the whole outcome. It's not on Fitzpatrick at all. That's how I feel.
No, I didn't want to necessarily blame Fitzpatrick for the loss. That wasn't the objective. Where I was coming from was that I've seen in the first few weeks that although the Jets have played really, really well, Fitzpatrick himself, like when you look at the stat line, when you look at the way he's played, when you look at the interceptions, he's kind of been what he is, and he's been what he's always been.
That's fine.
At this juncture, it's fine because.
But you have a good running game.
Right now, the Jets are probably wild card contenders with Fitzpatrick at the helm.
Easily.
Right. And with Geno, there's 100% mixed bag there. If not, maybe they get worse. You don't know that.
I can't see them being any. I can't see them getting any better. The way I could phrase it is this: Fitzpatrick's floor is higher than Geno's. Geno's floor is extremely low.
But Geno's ceiling is better.
Geno's
ceiling is higher.
I'm not going to say it's Smith. I'm not going to say
No, I don't. You know that Geno's ceiling is better.
I don't think so.
You know it's higher.
I think because his floor is so low that it kind of brings his ceiling down. Because he'll make so many mistakes and cause you. It doesn't matter if he could run the ball for an extra first down. Fitzpatrick, I don't know if you know this, he went to Harvard, so he's a smart guy and he knows what he's doing.
Nailed it. No, listen, I also agree with that.
You're right about the interception thing. He should not be turning the ball over. His job is to keep the ball on offense and not turn the ball over. He has to drive the ball down the field methodically. Right.
And
you're 100% right.
That should be his top priority. From his perspective, he's got to figure out a way to, even if you're throwing for 210 yards a game with a touchdown or two,
that's all he needs to do.
That's all you need to do.
Ivory up 100 on the ground. The defense. That game, week 2, versus Indianapolis, that was one of the most. I can't think of, off the top of my head, many more impressive. That's the most impressive Jet win in how long?
A long time. That's about 3 years.
That's a very good quality.
At least 3 years.
To go into Indianapolis in prime time and beat that team, who people thought going in was a Super Bowl contender. I'm not sure right now.
And they were embarrassed in week 1 by Buffalo.
They were embarrassed 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
The Colts were embarrassed. The Jets did a number on them. Very impressive win. And the Jets defense shows you they're for real. They're going to get Sheldon Richardson back by all accounts. So
Yeah,
you can imagine.
unfortunately.
You can imagine how good this team's going to be. So if you have Ivor in the ground, you have the great defense. You're going to get Decker will be back. It's not a torn knee; it's a sprained knee. He'll be back. He'll be fine. Marshall's doing it. Marshall's right now a Pro Bowler. You have if he doesn't turn the ball over, Fitzpatrick, that's a good team. That's a wild card contending team, just like you said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Here's my biggest concern, though. Who is the quarterback after this season? That's when it starts getting a little murky. Now,
that's a good question. But
when we look at this situation,
it's week going to week 4. You can't think about that.
No, I know it's absolutely dumb.
I don't know because this is a conversation I had with Gene a couple weeks back with RG3. The Jets are not going to finish. They're not going to finish near the top of the league. In terms of getting a top pick. They're not going to be. The Jets won't be in the running for a top quarterback. And I don't know how long because there's too much talent there. They're going to be borderline playoff team, which means they're going to be picking, 18, 19, in the 20s?
Yes.
You're not going to get a stud quarterback there in this day and age. Unless you trade up.
Unless you get lucky into a situation like a Flacco or a Rodgers.
And we can count and we can count on our fingers how many times how many times we've seen a legit NFL starting quarterback be available on the open market. Maybe Cutler, maybe Peyton. Maybe Favre at the end of his career.
Right.
That's really it. I could think Breeze, too. Want to throw Breeze out there. But Breeze had injury concerns, too. So there's never real... And you could throw Peyton age, Favre age, Cutler has, behavioral issues. Everyone had a flaw to their name to not make them, a guy... You're not going to... You just never happens.
Yeah, no, a tier 1 guy like Peyton...
I can't answer that question to you.
The Peyton situation is something that comes up maybe once in a generation. Or like,
and yeah,
like
we saw like a beast.
Like we saw it happen with the Colts. They had to get rid of Manning to get rid of Luck. We saw it with the 49ers. They got rid of Montana to bring in Young. That is legitimately a situation that happens once in a generation. So you can't look that way for a quarterback. I was just bringing it up because I think it was a good point.
It's a really good point, but my answer to that would be one: don't think about it because right now you have a good team. And,
it's a good team that
focus
can
on
be a
one game at a
playoff
time.
contender.
My answer, if you put a gun to my head right now and how to answer that. I mean, this can go so many ways. I could say this with confidence. It's not Geno Smith. I can say that with 100% confidence.
That's also a fair statement.
It's not Geno Smith. I could say if Fitzpatrick gets this team to the wild card, he has a really good shot until they find the next guy and they could draft somebody and groom him. The next best answer. I mean, maybe they drafted this guy with the idea in mind that he could be good, not just a big time college
We're
quarterback.
talking about my boy Bryce Petty.
It could be Bryce Petty.
Wow. I actually like Bryce Petty.
The
only thing is they need another receiver, but
you might draft him because you think he has a future. I just know for a fact Geno Smith will not be a starting quarterback going into next year. There's just no way that happens. He lost once he got hit. That was it, right in the wall. He's done. Todd Bowles does not want to start him now unless something drastic happens to Fitzpatrick where he breaks a leg and Smith comes in and wins out. That's the only way. But
hypothetically, let's say the Jets in the next couple of weeks, they don't struggle, but they're kind of like middling. They go like 1-1, 2-2, and then Fitzpatrick has a couple games where he's throwing like 3 interceptions and basically calling the New York media to question him. And it would be a fair assessment because we've seen this Fitzpatrick before. He was a backup in St. Louis and Cincinnati. He was a starter in Buffalo who eventually lost his job. He was the starter in Houston last year, and even though he finished, they went 9-7. They were overall a pretty solid team. There were games last year where he wasn't so great either. But he's very up and down. He's not so much like a roller coaster, but he's got peaks and valleys.
So you're saying the Jets stink the next couple weeks, and will Geno Smith have to come in?
Yes.
Will
there be a situation
I could see
happen.
him playing relief. I can see him playing relief. I'm not sure they're going to name him the starter. I could see him playing relief in a couple games. But
who are you, Francesa, right now playing in relief?
No, I think he might.
He's made the same assessment with quarterbacks before.
I think he'll come in like one of those games, like out of the locker room in the second half, and take it over if Fitzpatrick's struggling that bad. My honest opinion, I don't think he'll struggle that bad, and I think the team is good.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to struggle that bad.
They won't do that again. They won't lose games. Like that's how I feel about the team. Oh, my answer to your question: who's starting the Jets next year? Robert Griffin III. To me, it makes too much sense. But that's how I think.
Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm always a proponent that sometimes players are drafted into bad situations at a bad time, and they're not necessarily a bad player.
Robert Griffin's a very good player.
He's a very good player. He has no amount of
touchdowns as he has interceptions. He's a good player.
There's no reason you can convince me that Kirk Cousins should be starting right now over Robert Griffin. No. I went to the game on Thursday night. Kirk Cousins stinks. He is awful. He's got limited mobility. He was getting out of the pocket a couple times.
He's no RG3.
But he's he runs like a slow guy with a chicken without his head. There's no, I guess, sense in the game. There's no pocket awareness there, and his arm strength is definitely not as good.
No.
RG3 is a much better playmaker. RG3 is way more efficient.
Yeah, he is.
Did you see the stat about how Kirk Cousins has thrown just as many interceptions as RG3 has in a third of total starts?
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
No, I've never seen a person with better stats get as much criticism as RG3's ever got in his life. Having 40-plus touchdowns and 20 interceptions and having the completion percentage he has,
I think the injuries have really worked in his favor.
It's the injury. It's the hit in the playoffs. And look, RG3 not that I want to get into this whole Redskins talk right now because they're trash. They don't deserve our time. As bad of a podcast as we are, we're doing this in the basement on a bar.
Well, we're talking about future trade targets.
We're actually above the Redskins
because I actually agree with you. I think RG3 would be another good target. I'm probably the only one who believes a guy even Cutler would be a decent target.
I don't know. Cutler's kind of toxic, and I think he's in the back end of his career. I think RG3 is young. RG3 has...
Well, you need a guy.
He has the it factor. I think the hit in the playoffs screwed him up, and I think when Shanahan forcing him to play, that was not great. But I think in today's NFL, you don't need to be a running quarterback. You need to be a quarterback that throws, that has the ability or the option to run, to make a play. Look at Russell Wilson. Look, RG3 is a much better athlete than Russell Wilson. That might be shocking to people, considering that Russell Wilson played in the MLB, could play in the MLB. RG3 is a faster, more athletic quarterback than Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson is smarter, and Russell Wilson knows when to slide. Russell Wilson knows when to take it out of bounds. He knows when to lay down and let the defense, pop his head off. And I respect Griffin for wanting to get that extra yard or two, but you have to be smarter in the NFL and just stop and just take what you can get and use your arm. You have great arm strength. Use your arm to the most of its ability. And that's how you help your team, not what he did. Even though, again, I do respect it, but it cost him, it cost him the starting job, I think, eventually, because he was just rattled, never the same. I think once he gets that, he has almost like the yips in golf. When you struggle after a bad shot and you can't get it back. If he learns how to just wipe that away from his mind, start fresh with a new team, I think he'd be great for any franchise that picks him up. Do I think the Jets will? I mean, I say it kind of tongue-in-cheek. I don't think the Jets want to go through that whole PR mess it'll be when you got a guy like that. He's a mental midget. Don't bring him in here. He won't last in the New York media. But I mean, the Washington media gets covered pretty heavily too, and they've been in the news for the past couple of years, whether it's their name or their bad owner or whatever.
Everybody who comes here is a mental midget.
Yeah, you're right. So anyway, that's how I feel about that.
One more name. I mean, I'm good with you with your Fitzpatrick points. Obviously, you know my Geno points. My Geno points kind of that's not irrational, but they kind of make sense.
A higher playmaking ceiling because of what you see him do at West Virginia, and I think that's just total crap because we saw what guys. And
I'm also thinking about I can rattle off 1,000 because he's only in year 3 too.
I can rattle off 1,000 quarterbacks and from college that look great, and then just cannot translate to the NFL. I mean, literally, we'll sit here for hours just talking about. I can name you quarterback after quarterback after quarterback in the college
sometimes
level.
It doesn't work out.
It usually never does. Usually never.
I'm like I said, I'm just very curious to see what Geno can do behind a team like that if given a chance.
I think if Geno's under center this year, it's bad news to the Jets.
All right,
and that means that their record's going to really suffer.
Let me give you one more name.
Okay, we'll do this quickly, and then we'll get to 3-0 teams.
Colin Kaepernick.
Ooh.
Because he's going to get driven out of that town.
Yeah,
very, very, very.
Yeah,
soon.
He is. I saw that.
That team is a disaster. That team is a mess. You want to talk about Washington being a mess? San Francisco is a mess.
Honestly, out of all the names you give me, Color, you give me Kaepernick, give me...
No, but Kaepernick's intriguing.
I
think if the situation presents itself where they feel like they have to move on, they would move on from him because now it's Balky's still there, right?
He's a GM.
Trent Balky's still the GM.
Yeah.
York's still the owner.
Yeah, he's on
they're what it seemed to me though when they got rid of Harbaugh in the offseason was seemed that they were on
didn't see eye to eye with.
They were on a pure power trip, and it's their way is the best way, and no, they were actually the team, the guys who were behind the construction of this team, blah blah blah. But fast forward, Kaepernick was 100% more of a Harbaugh guy. I mean, Harbaugh proved that when he started Kaepernick.
Harbaugh is known for getting the most out of his quarterbacks wherever he's gone.
Right now, Harbaugh's gone. Now Kaepernick's going to struggle. Now Balky may get the pressure to feel like, now this is not working. I got to restart from square one, which means that if Kaepernick may be available. I'm just throwing out names.
No,
I'm just spitballing different.
No, it's a good idea. Again, it comes back to the whole toxic thing, being in New York, having a guy with a bad attitude, being in the New York media. I don't think it's going to bode well whatsoever. I definitely think that Kaepernick's a product of being under Harbaugh. Harbaugh, his track record from wherever he's been, he's made every quarterback great.
It's so good.
He started at University of San Diego. They play Marist, my brother's school, your school, Marist. He got Josh Johnson. He was a quarterback there. Got the guy drafted. They play a lower Division I. Got him drafted. Goes to Stanford. Obviously, who comes out of Stanford? You have Andrew Luck. Then he got Pep Hamilton a job, like seemingly from that whole regime when he was there. And then, go to the 49ers. He used Alex Smith, used Colin Kaepernick, got the most out of Kaepernick. Kaepernick is a guy who had a good spurt, had, Ron George saying, I think he'll be the best quarterback of all time. All these commercials now. But you he got that diva attitude to his head, and then once he took off with it, and then he was always, he thought he was the top of the world, and he wasn't that great of a quarterback. He never really proved anything. So you're asking me, I'm still going to go with Griffin. I still think RG3 is the best out of the group, out of the ones you said. I think he has the most potential. I think he showed that he could be the best of the three. I think he's less toxic than either of those guys. I don't think RG3 is a bad dude. I think Kaepernick is a bad dude. I think he's gotten to some
especially with those tattoos.
First of all, I think he's a bad dude, and I think R3 means well. I think he's kind of dumb, but I think he means well. I think his ability is pretty good. Again, once he's smarter on the field, if he doesn't take hits from linebackers and safeties, running down the field, he'll be fine. Because statistically, what he's done is great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's the rebel, he's the outcast, he's the guy. I think RG3 could be more, if they're, winning cures all. And if RG's on a winning team, they're doing really good things. If he has Decker and Marshall there, per se, that'd be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, you made the little bit of the big statement guarantee, if you will, about RG3 before. I think the next quarterback in the New York Jets is going to be somebody who they get in a trade. Because the way this team is right now, it's mostly all there. They're in a really, really good spot. They're built to win. And their defense is young enough. Now they have Leonard Williams, DeMario Davis, Calvin Pryor.
And that's why you can't put a mid to late first round quarterback in. You can't insert him in the
So we both agree that regardless of what happens this season, let's say Fitzpatrick gets them to 9-7, they get the 6 seed wild card.
Right.
They lose the wild card game. They come into a situation where it's like Geno. They know they're going to move on from Geno, Fitzpatrick, and
Geno's done. He's an afterthought.
So we both agree on the fact that the next quarterback of the Jets will be somebody that they get in a trade, whether that be RG3, whether that be Cutler, whether that be Kaepernick, whether that be decent backups elsewhere, maybe like a Chase Daniel. I'm just throwing out names.
I'm not going to count out Fitzpatrick. I'm not going to count out Bryce Petty, but I think a trade is more viable than them drafting a guy in the first round and throwing him right into the fire.
I agree with that 100%.
I just can't see a team doing that. Then again, you could say, well, what makes Bryce Petty any better than a first rounder? I don't know. It doesn't. Bryce Petty wasn't, but he learned for a year under the system under Fitzpatrick, who again went to Harvard. If you forget that, so I don't. You could. That's a toss up.
I just took a drink, by the way.
That's a toss up, but there could be the Aaron Rodgers situation where a guy is goes in the 20s in the draft and then learns under Brett Favre for 3 years and becomes the NFL's best player. Is that going to happen to the Jets? I don't know. Maybe they're due. Maybe the Jets are due for that. But if you're a team that's on the cusp or makes the playoffs, like you said, I can't justify putting the third or fourth best quarterback in the draft being taken in the 20s starting for your team when you have a really, really good team every other position. I have a problem with that. So I don't. That's a great point to bring up. It's something definitely to watch. If you're a Jets fan right now, I guess you could stop. Put the sharp objects away from you and just be happy you're 2-1 and should be 3-1 after this week. I think the Jets will win this week big time. And I think they're going to definitely. Phil might be fired. So
doesn't it feel like Miami's in that imploding stage?
Oh yeah, very close, very close.
They're very, very close.
Anyway, we spent like 20 minutes on the Jets or so. Bless you. You want to get
your sneezing has rubbed off on me.
I know. We're allergic to some down here. So we want to get to these the 3-0 teams.
Yeah, you want to talk about the Giants quick? I feel like we spent a half hour on the Jets at least.
No, the Jets have
the Jets
are the issue. I want to because me and you at least could debate on something. And it was a good conversation. The Giants. What did I say about the Giants? Giants should be 3-0. They're 1-2. I'm not sure if they're a good team that lost dumb games or they're a flawed team that was in games late. And
it's a little bit of both.
It could be. They're definitely not that great on defense yet. The whole Victor Cruz situation kind of. I don't know what's going on. I don't get the guy walks in the Fashion Week thing, has a calf issue. It's not even the knee. The patella tendon, which is a devastating injury. He could have started week 1 if it wasn't for the calf. He was fine, which is weird. A strained calf keeps you out 4 weeks, a month. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's pretty bad. He said he's going to play this week, steps out on the field, and he has to walk off the field, can't practice anymore. He's out again this week versus the Bills.
Probably a blessing in disguise because they're getting Buffalo's defense this week.
Yeah. I mean, they could have used him, especially with McCoy and Watkins out, so I think the game will be pretty close. I'm not really sure which way I'm leaning yet, but...
I pretty much think it's a toss-up.
I
think if the Giants win this week, they're in it. Like everybody knows that the NFC East win is probably going to be 9, maybe 10 wins.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So if they get to 2-2 and they right the ship a little bit, I think they'll be all right.
Okay, all right. So we'll break. How about this? We're going to break down the 3-0 teams thing.
Yes,
and then you could pull up. I don't want to pull up on the computer because it might break, but you could pull up the matchups for this week, and we'll do our pick 'em for this week going in there. So what do you want to get into with the 3-0 teams? The who's legit?
7 3-0 teams right now.
Who are the Pats, the Packers, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Falcons, and I'm missing somebody. I got to think.
Very, very obvious team you're missing.
An obvious team.
Think about it for a second. I'll give you a hint. They start a 5-time most valuable player winner.
Oh, the Broncos.
That is correct.
Yeah, Broncos. Wow.
My next hint was that they play in a city that's a mile above sea level.
So you want to get
that would have given it away.
I did this the other day when I was on the Bottom Line show. We did the who's legit, the group, and then who's the phony. You can do yours first, so I don't steal from you.
We're going to go team by team?
Well, I don't think so, because I think most of the teams are... I mean, who's going to say the Packers aren't legit? Who's going to say the Pats aren't legit? Who's going to say the Broncos aren't legit? Those teams have been around for every single year, seemingly, at this point. So right, I think it's the other... I think you had a good point about the other... Yeah, the other 4 I think are more interesting.
All right. Let's start with the AFC. Let's start with the Bengals. You first. Legit or phony?
I think the Bengals are legit.
I think the Bengals are legit.
I like the Bengals a lot.
They're a legitimate sucker me in.
They're a legitimate team because they didn't have they were so banged up last year. There was no Eifert, there was no Marvin Jones.
Right.
The running back, each of them had a couple injuries apiece. So having a full team there, you know what it comes down to again is Andy Dalton, if he's going to be very Jekyll and Hyde or he's going to be closer to a Pro Bowl type quarterback. He's one of those guys you're never going to know. If he figures it out, he's great. The defense is in a great spot. We've seen them made to the playoffs before. We've never seen them win a game. They have, Marvin Lewis has been the coach there for like 50 years now, so I think it's about time he wins a game for them. But I like the Bengals this year. I think AJ Green's a monster. Their whole offense is scary. So
yeah, the offense is like Super Bowl worthy.
And the funny thing is the defense is like their strong suit, but the offense is scary. That's. I think they're definitely for real. They're helped out by the fact that Baltimore is in a mess. I mean, the Browns are a joke, and then the injuries and the suspensions to the Steelers. That's what helps out big time. Yeah,
getting Le'Veon Bell helps a lot. Yeah, but I still think the Bengals are better than the Steelers. I would agree with that.
I don't at all. I think the Steelers are a Super Bowl contender. Well, they were until Big Ben got hurt.
Right.
I like them a lot. The first 2 weeks they were good.
They were good,
and they could have beat the Pats.
That secondary though is a mess. The Bengals are they're a very balanced team. They are very.
I can make the case that Big Ben before he got hurt was the 4th best quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
I can make that case. I think he might have been.
Yeah.
He's playing really well. Brown's the best receiver in football for the past 3 years. Getting Le'Veon Bell back is great. D'Angelo Williams didn't skip a beat when he was in. Martavis Bryant's coming back, I believe, next week after his 4-game suspension. So they'll be all right. Hopefully, Ben's now only 4 weeks. I think they're really a team to watch out for. If Vic can keep them afloat, he can tread water. They're going to be fine. So I like the Bengals a lot, but I like the Steelers a lot, but I like the Bengals a lot too. So we're both playing the Bengals.
Yeah, we're both. That's surprising. I feel like you're the kind of person who wouldn't be so high on the Bengals.
It's a very Jets type scenario where your whole team is very, very good, and it's up to the quarterback to make enough plays. I think the Bengals are a better version of the Jets.
I think we have to give. I mean, granted, he's been terrible in the playoffs, but we have to give Dalton his due at some point.
Well, he's Jekyll and Hyde.
His record
some weeks he's great. Some weeks he's just you don't know what he's doing.
No, I know. In his first 4 seasons, though, like going into his 4th season now, his record as a starting quarterback has been pretty good. And this has come mostly with A.J. Green, obviously. But, I mean, there were large stretches last year where he didn't have A.J. Green, and he was still pretty solid. I mean, we know what we're getting from him at this point.
Right.
needless to say, you could probably list a lot of quarterbacks who are better than Dalton, but at the same time, you probably can't list a ton of quarterbacks that are worse than him. You know what I mean?
Dalton some weeks look like he's top 5, some weeks look like he's bottom 5, which why I think he should be like 15. He's like the most average because of some weeks he's great, some weeks he's not great.
Yeah,
he's around. I mean, in reality, is he 15? He could be higher. He probably should be higher, especially in today's NFL.
He's probably above the cutoff of above replacement. Like he's probably way past that, but not good enough.
There's the elite. There's the next group who's the borderline.
And
great ones. And then there's the Dalton group.
Right.
That's where he should be.
But I think he could jump into the second group with the nice playoff run.
Depends on this year. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Depends on this year though.
All right, let's go to the NFC South. We got 2 3-0 teams. We got the Panthers and we got the Falcons. One of which I think is a huge pretender, huge phony.
I agree with you. I think
we both agree on
the same page here. Yeah, I said the same thing the other day. I think the move to get Dan Quinn as a head coach is going to pay off in spades because he's bringing a defensive mindset to the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons also, in my opinion, I know the MVP right now would probably be Brady or Rodgers, but I think a guy who have serious consideration should be Julio Jones. Julio Jones, 34 catches in 3 weeks. He's on pace to break the NFL record.
Is it safe to say that Julio Jones is officially matchup-proof in fantasy?
No matter who you play.
So long as he's healthy, you're getting 20 points a week.
I've never been into the whole matchup thing as it is. Like, everyone's like, oh, be careful to start your running backs for the Seattle defense, or don't start these. If you have if you're a receiver and your last name is, Beckham, Bryant, Jones, Thomas, Brown, you're going to be fine. So I don't buy into that whole matchup thing, or what cornerbacks. No, you're going to get your balls. You're going to be fine.
So I would argue Julio has been the MVP solely because Roddy White has completely fizzled out of that offense.
I don't get that at all. I've started him 2 weeks in a row and he's giving me 0 points. They don't even look at him. It's a Julio Jones show, and then
no
Hankerson
tight end.
now.
They have no tight end. They have Leonard Hankerson was probably their second best receiver right now, and he is what he is. He's a middling 3.
Yeah.
They have no tight end, like I said. They had a running back by committee before this week. Now it looks like they're going to firmly give the job back to Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like Freeman's got his limitations. So it's like that offense is basically Ryan and Julio,
right.
And everybody knows it's coming, yet they can't stop it anyway, which goes to show you just how dominant they both are.
No, the offense has been very, very good, and I think, like I said, having Dan Quinn to help that the defense talent-wise is not very good, but I guess his scheme, what he's implementing there, is helping, and they needed that in the worst way possible. So I like him.
There's a certain pep to them. There's that energy about them. When it was with Mike Smith, obviously when they drafted Ryan, the first couple of years they had a lot of success, and there was that fresh feeling of they were winning. But at the same time, it kind of felt like the Colts in the early 2000s, where it was the same situation. Good young Peyton, good young Ryan.
God awful defense.
God awful defense. The offense was really carrying it. But at the same time, there was that good energy and that good vibe there, and they were overall talented enough to get you 11, 12, 13 wins a year.
Sure.
But at the same time, they weren't really contenders.
Right.
So now Dan Quinn, talent-wise, they're probably not at that point where they're a contender, but by next year, give them a draft, give them another whole year of free agency. They're probably one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NFC.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, a lot of things.
I like Dan Quinn a lot.
A lot of things have to go the right way for them to be top 2 or 3. I think the NFC is still pretty strong. I mean, you could argue 3 teams in the NFC West alone could be better than them. Then you have the Packers.
Right.
Then you have the Cowboys fully healthy. So that's tough to say that, but
we both agree on the Panthers.
Panthers not much talk about.
I will say this: I think Cam Newton, his first 3 games this season, have been very good.
I was going to say,
considering that he doesn't have a number 1 or a number 2 receiver. He's been very.
Kelvin Benjamin got hurt. They have not used Funchess really at all. Greg Olsen had a good game last week, but he's really the only guy there. I said this also on the show a couple days ago, and if they win the division or go above 500, Cam Newton has to be in the MVP race just for what he's doing.
Yeah,
because that team is not good.
They're not good.
Kuechly's hurt.
Their defense is solid.
They are.
Kuechly, they're better.
They've gotten slowly worse over the past couple of years. The defense. They were the number 1 ranked defense 2 years ago.
Right.
And they got slowly worse. But again, Kuechly got hurt, who you could argue is their best player, second best player, depending on how you feel about Cam. But if they're winning games, they're above 500, Cam Newton has to be in the MVP race just for being valuable to their team. I don't care about stats. I don't care if Brady throws for 70 touchdowns this year. I don't care what Rodgers, whatever he does. Cam Newton carrying that team, putting that team in his back, is unbelievable because that team is not good at all, and he's doing it.
Now, let's be fair about this, too. They've also played...
The terrible teams. Terrible teams. Yeah, I understand that.
Jacksonville, Houston, and New Orleans.
I'm not in the business of poo-poo
Do you know the
wins.
combined record of those 3 teams?
I don't poo-poo wins. You got to win those games.
No, I know. Obviously, you got to win those games, but I mean, it's no secret that they're 2-7. The three of them combined.
I can argue those teams they might beat the Panthers in most a positional matchup. They might beat the Panthers in a lot of positions, and that shows you how bad the Panthers team really is.
Right. I mean, if Breeze was playing last week for New Orleans, that game probably looks a little bit different.
Yeah, you like to think that. But yeah, so I agree with you. Panthers not for real. If they are for real, or somehow record shows they're for real, Cam Newton it's amazing to do that. The Falcons I like. The Falcons I'm not sold on as being playoff contenders, but I think they are a very good team, like overall, and I think they will get better under Dan Quinn.
Right.
Who do we have left? We have the Cardinals, NFC West. I love the Cardinals.
I love them too.
Love the Cardinals.
Oh man, do I love them!
Palmer's in his second prime. Larry Fitzgerald in his second prime. You have guys like John Brown and Michael Floyd still there. Chris Johnson, another guy who's
they have three solid runs.
Come back in his prime.
Yeah, Ellington's coming back, but I would argue that David Johnson and Chris Johnson are the better duo. Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah, and their defense has always been a strong point. I mean, just a phenomenal team. Bruce Arians, one of the more underrated coaches in the league, is great.
I have a theory about Chris Johnson. Last week, a lot of people would consider it a surprise. I don't necessarily consider it a surprise. I feel like Chris Johnson is a lot better than a majority of the running backs out there.
People don't realize that his prime was very, 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 very small. And he only did it for a couple years, and it wasn't too long ago. It wasn't long ago at all, and he got
But I feel like he was getting bounced around, and he shouldn't have been employed, but he actually should have been employed. Let's take a look at. Let's take a look at the Broncos. Cap situation, blah, blah, blah. But they're starting C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman. And you would want to start Chris Johnson over both of those guys. So, to me, I never understood, the running backs at their late stages of their career. A lot of people are expecting them to fall.
He was a younger guy. People don't realize his prime was small and he was young. He was younger. He might have lost a step. He might have not been, because he's a shifty guy. He's not good between the tackles. That hurts him. Because a lot of guys, a lot of running backs now, some of them more ground and pound, more up the middle. They learn how to do it both ways, and he was more of an outside runner, and that changed. But
he looks really, really good.
He looks very.
He looks really, really good.
Like I said, him, Palmer, and Fitzgerald all have a second prime. It's like a new birth for them. They're a new player.
I also think it's the Bruce Arians effect. I think no matter where Arians has gone, he's had success as a coach, whether it be as an offensive coordinator, whether it be as an interim head coach, whether it be as head coach of the Cardinals. He's when you're aspiring to be a coach, you should probably just look at the Bruce Arians book of how to do it. Because at the same time, he knows his X's and O's, but at the same time, he also relates to the players on a personal level, and he's also able to get the most out of everybody else around him, which is something that I think is very underrated. And I think you see it more so in Arizona. Obviously, they got guys like Patrick Peterson. Having an all-world top 3 corner in the world is going to help you. They have a very good defensive line. That's been like that for the last 5 or 6 years now. Their offensive line always seems to be patchwork, but they've got solid players. They signed Mike Iupati from San Francisco in the offseason. So it's they're not talented, but at the same time it's they get the most out of the guys who are in their prime, who are their own homegrown guys, even Tyrann Mathieu too. Then they get guys like Palmer, who they acquired in a trade. Then they get they drafted Michael Floyd and John Brown. They got Chris Johnson in free agency. It's what's going on in Arizona almost feels like a collective team effort. And it's they take really, really great pride in that. And that's why they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't, although it may seem like there are holes on that team, there really aren't. And couldn't you see a team like Arizona, Seattle's a mess right now. But hypothetically, let's say Arizona wins 11 games again. Last year Palmer got hurt. But they still won 11 games. Which means they're perfectly capable of doing it again. So let's say, hypothetically, Arizona wins 11, 12, 13 games, and they host a playoff game. Now, let's say, not necessarily Green Bay. Let's say, in Atlanta, or, a Dallas, or, somebody has to go into Arizona to play a playoff game. Would you like their chances?
Oh, big time.
Huge,
First those
right?
team, yeah, absolutely. Big time.
I think they're contenders. And I think Palmer's, so lucky, so fortunate. I felt so bad when he got hurt last year.
He's played well enough to be in the second group of quarterbacks, the Eli, Big Ben, Rivers.
I agree.
Yeah, that's how good he's been.
He's always been that guy who's like more tier 2, but has played like a tier 3 guy.
Those years in Oakland, although he was pretty good in the last year at Oakland, I believe, before he went over to Arizona.
Right.
And then adding the injuries doesn't really help his cause either. So, you're right about that. What are the teams we have left? We're going along on time here.
I think
that's all on. Yeah, so
we established the Packers, the Broncos, and the Patriots.
It's all be pretty legitimate.
We all know they're legitimate.
All right, so we'll go through the game picks this week. We'll just pick the team and then give like a one sentence or one quick reason why you're picking the team to get through that, and then we'll hit on. I guess we'll end with the baseball stuff.
Yes, I can't wait to rant about the Yankees. You have the schedule, or you want me to bring it up?
Just bring it up. I don't want to.
Yeah, I got
our great operating system over here.
We'll start with tonight: the Ravens and the Steelers.
Ooh,
it's a good game.
Steelers because of the talent.
Yeah,
Steelers
talent always wins.
Yep.
I believe that what's happening to the Ravens this year is actually a blessing in disguise.
You need to blow it up, start fresh.
No, not that they need to blow it up. But they clearly need more talent. They have no talent at wide receiver. They have
letting Torrey
a
Smith
running
go,
back
and then
who was like been bounced around. The NFL. He broke out last year.
He's 30 years old, on the wrong side of 30.
Defense, special teams, good as always. Flacco's good, but they clearly need an infusion of talent. So not so bad that they're being bad, like they're bad this season. Jets, Dolphins.
Jets.
We both like the Jets. We both think the Dolphins are
in a bad spot. Jets are going to win that game.
Texans, Falcons. Falcons are the home team. This is very easy.
Falcons. Who's going to continue?
I don't think that game's going to be pretty. That game will be like 45.
Julio will keep it up. 12 plus catches.
Giants at the Bills. I think this is a toss-up.
Very hard game. I wish Cruz played. I would be fired up. And knowing
I don't think necessarily he's
having McCoy and Watkins out. I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm not
Tyrod Taylor.
I'm not in love with him, but the Bills are home. Rex Ryan's coaching the team up. I feel like Eli will make a lot of mistakes. I've not been happy lately with Eli and Tom Collins. If you've been talking to me, I've not been happy with them and the stupid.
I don't think Eli's the problem.
The crap they've been pulling. They got to be smart. You got to know late game scenario. I know I said one sentence. Bills win by like a field goal.
Okay. Raiders, Bears.
Oh, Raiders shouldn't win. I mean, even if Cutler's back, Raiders. I like what the Raiders are doing. AC/DC, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Raiders. I love Cooper, I love Mack, love Carr. Jack Del Rio there. He's got this team flying high. All right, Chiefs, Bengals.
Very good game. I think I still like the Chiefs more than a lot of people.
I'm on. This is my upset game.
Chiefs.
Kansas City's going to go.
Chiefs. Yeah, Chiefs are going to come back and.
This is a statement game.
Yeah, Chiefs are going to come back and win.
Wow. Holy shit.
I tweeted a bunch during the Chiefs Packers game, and I said that the Chiefs didn't die in that game. They could have, and the Chiefs, I think they're much better than people give them credit for. Andy Reid is the problem with that whole team because the way he coaches.
He's a very conservative coach. I mean, he's got a conservative quarterback, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but give him, if you told Alex to throw the ball downfield, he'll throw the ball downfield. That's what it comes down to. You have Mack, who's a great playmaker, so I like them a lot. Charles is phenomenal.
Yeah, I still think they're going to end up as a playoff team.
Absolutely.
We got the Jaguars and the Colts. Very easy game.
Yeah, the Colts should run all of them.
I think
but I don't know if they will, but they should. The Colts.
I expect it to be a blowout, but it won't be a blowout. Panthers at the Buccaneers.
This game has upset special written all over it, but for some reason I trust Cam though. I trust
Cam.
I trust Cam.
I'm going to pick Tampa.
Yeah, it's a good upset game, but I trust Cam. I don't
think it's really necessarily an upset. I think Tampa Bay, they are what they are. They're going to be a 6 or 7 win team. Winston's going to have his high moments. He's going to have his low moments. But Carolina, they're just due to lose. And I think Tampa Bay finally got Evans healthy. Jackson's healthy.
They have talent there. They have talent there. But
they have talent.
What Cam's do is crazy, and I'm just going to give the streak's going to continue one more week.
Eagles and Washington.
Eagles in a much closer game than you think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that this week is going to be a good game for Bradford. I finally think that he's going to get... He has not started the season well, and he kind of needs that one start to reassure the coaching staff, reassure himself. I think this is the game to do it. D'Angelo Hall's out. Washington's in a vulnerable spot. They just came off that huge loss to the Giants. They're in a tailspin. We got Broncos at the Chargers.
Broncos.
Oh, I'm sorry. Browns at the Chargers. Oops.
I'm a liar. Chargers. As long as you're not starting Johnny Manziel, they're going to have problems there. Chargers.
I think Manziel should be the starter.
I mean, it's not even a debate. I think.
We both agree with this. I hate when we agree. Rams or the Cardinals.
Tough. It's a tough divisional game.
I thought the Rams were going to be a lot better to start.
I still think they could. Their defensive line is phenomenal, and the whole defense as a whole is great. They're getting Gurley back healthy. They need better talent receiver.
I think the Ravens and the Redskins. No, not the Redskins. The Rams and the Ravens are both in the same spot. Like solid quarterbacks, really good defenses.
Yeah, you're a big Foles guy.
I am a Foles guy.
Cardinals in that game. Cardinals are going to continue the undefeated streak.
Yeah, I agree. Vikings at the Broncos.
Broncos in a game again that should be going to be closer than people think.
A lot closer than people think. I still have the Vikings as a playoff team. I don't know why I like that team.
I don't know that, but
I don't like. I like that team for. I've
been pretty critical of Payton lately. So.
We got the Packers at the 49ers.
I mean, there's no reason to pick against the Packers.
No, absolutely not. I'm picking with the Packers until they lose. We got the Cowboys at the Saints. A battle of meh versus meh.
I think
the Saints get off the schneid.
I think the Saints are going to win.
I thought Luke Pinnicown played pretty solid last week, all things considering.
I trust Breeze picking up the defense. I don't trust Brandon Whedon, being almost perfect, passing wise, like he will again. And there's no way Justin Randall's going to do that 2 weeks in a row.
I agree with that. We got the Lions and the Seahawks. The final game.
The Seahawks are going to win.
All right, so we agreed predominantly on most. Was there a game that we disagreed on? I don't think so.
The Pats are on a bye, right?
Yeah,
they're on a bye week.
They're going to win their bye week.
No, the Bucks game. I still think Cam's going to keep up the magic. You picked the Bucks. So that's pretty much it for NFL. Right. I know we wanted to get on one last thing. We'll save some other stuff for next week because we went kind of long on the Jets talk. But definitely, obviously, this week is big news. There is something else going on besides the NFL. If you haven't watched TV, the MLB playoff race. If you're here in New York, either you're happy because you're a Mets fan, and even despite them losing the past couple weeks, they clinched their NL East division. They're going to continue on in the playoffs, play the LA Dodgers. If you're the other half a fan here in New York, you're a Yankees fan, you're saying, geez, we really have hit a wall here, and they can't seem to win that final game to clinch the wild card. Division is lost by the Yankees. Now it's the Blue Jays. Blue Jays have won the division. That team, I feel like they've lost 2 games since the All-Star break. So it's a very strange time here, but again, both teams should make the playoffs. We're both Yankee fans, and a big question lately that I want to hit on is that who should be starting the Tuesday one-game playoff, which is the dumbest thing in sports. A lot of people like it. It's interesting.
Like I'm one of those stupid people who
I don't think you should waste your whole season for one game and lose it.
Well, the idea was in baseball, 8 teams made the playoffs out of 30. So the best way that they could have essentially added 2 more playoff teams was with the play-in game. And I like it because it's sure, it's one game, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it keeps kind of the old format with kind of infusing it with the little, shot in the arm that it desperately needed. And you look at last year, we got Kansas City, Oakland, which is probably one of the greatest single game playoffs you'll ever see.
And I don't even remember it. So
that
shows you everything.
You don't remember it. I remember it. It was Lester Shields. A lot of back and forth.
If you polled a bunch of people on the street and they said who played in the AL one game, playing game, no one would know.
No, I know, but that's a case of baseball losing its luster and becoming more regionalized, and doesn't really have quite as of a national appeal as it did 30, 40 years ago. But I do like it. A lot of people have said that the play-in game should be turned into a 3-game series, which I wouldn't be opposed to either.
3 is better than 1.
But at the same time, it's you got to try to...
It's either you're a playoff team or you're not a playoff team. There's no one game to kind of get in the playoffs. The Yankees,
but I like it in this situation because now when you look at the National League, it's St. Louis is on another stratosphere, then Pittsburgh semi on a different stratosphere, and it's Chicago's on the Mets and Dodgers tier. So it's there are clearly 5 great teams that are all playoff teams. You know what I mean? And under the old format, the Cubs would have missed the playoffs, and they're just as good as the American League. They're better than the American League West winner. So
I understand that. I'm not saying that I need the team with the best record to get in, but I don't understand the whole notion of your whole season comes down to one game. I just don't like that at all. I feel like you should be.
I do agree with that too.
Why play 162 if only one matters?
In baseball, because
play 100, play 80, play 82,
right?
Play 16. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the 3-game series might be a little bit of a better idea because it's not really too much.
Yeah, because it can go 3, and you can win 1-1, and then Game 3. That's fun. Game 3 matters. You have 3 cracks at it,
and then you go 3-5, and then 7 to get out of your.
I'm fine with that.
That makes sense. But yeah.
Anyway, the question was who would you have pitching? I think there's one answer for this, but you could flip flop it.
There's one answer, but there's really 2.
No, I mean in a way 2, but I think it's 1.
There's one guy who I would start.
Who would you start?
I'm wrong. I feel like you know who I would want to start.
I know who I want. It's not what everyone else is saying.
If we're speaking completely honestly, I've watched so many Yankee games this season. I can honestly say that over the last 2 years, I've seen more Yankee games than probably I had at any point before in my entire life.
I watched a decent amount of Yankee games this year. It's been more fun to watch for them winning.
I watched a lot of games last year. I've watched more games this year.
I've watched practically 0 other baseball, but I watched the Yankees.
No, yeah, I'm with you.
It's cool. I'd watch the Red Sox. I've seen a few Met games. I don't watch national TV baseball. I can't get into that. So I'll be honest.
Who I would start
if you're Joe Girardi, who do you hand the ball to?
Luis Severino.
Yeah, that's what I said too. The answer.
This podcast sucks.
Yeah, we just
keep agreeing.
The answer is, but the thing is, at least
is Severino.
But this is a take that not a lot of people agree with.
Right.
You start Severino and you have a quick hook and you put in Tanaka if he stinks.
Right.
That's what you have to do.
Right.
I don't think Pineda doesn't factor in this. Nova shouldn't be on the roster.
Again.
Nova shouldn't be on the roster for the postseason. Surprisingly, I have CeCe above Nova just because CeCe's been there and I trust CeCe. I trust him being a competitor. I like CeCe's fire.
What stinks is that if we had Eovaldi, we could have rolled with a rotation of,
Is he done? Is he done for the playoffs completely? Or is it
I don't
confirmed?
know.
I thought they were still. They said the regular season he was done.
Regular season he was done. Playoffs was completely up in the air. I don't think he's going to pitch.
Some of these baseball players, man, they have these Steven Matz, the guy's our age. He slept on the couch and he pulled a muscle. He's like, I can't pitch. They scratched him for 2 straight starts. Grow up. I mean, come on. You're getting paid millions of dollars. I don't know what he's getting paid, but you're on the playoff team. You're on the Mets. You're one of the biggest stories in baseball. One of the biggest stories in sports. And you sleep on a couch wrong. You're a kid. How many times have you slept on a couch, Joe?
A lot.
Thousands times slept on a couch. So
I did it more in college.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You sleep on a couch and you wake up and you stretch a bit and you're fine. And you go about your day. These guys are such prima donnas. They care about, everything hurts. Oh, you're my lat muscle.
This
I can't sleep. Come on. Get out of here.
I hate, there's nothing I hate more than dumb
injuries. To pitch in the playoffs. If the Mets called me right now and said, Eddie, go and pitch in the playoffs, I stink at baseball. And I would go out there and pitch because they asked me to and I'm a competitor and I want to do it. I want to compete. I don't stink at baseball. I just never played. I could throw a ball.
That's a legendary
I'm athletic.
Speech.
No, but it's just...
When you do the job interview thing, I would take the audio clip of the I would start for the Mets. I'm a competitor because that's clearly brownie points in your favor.
I'll mark down. What is this? It's almost like an hour and 20 minutes in, or whatever.
Jeez.
Not an hour. It's about an hour. Actually, it's about an hour, and we started around 3:40. I'll tell Jada to cut this up for me because my computer doesn't work. No, but when I heard this, and he's gotten flack for it. I'll give the New York media credit for that. He's gotten flack for the whole getting pushed back to the starts because I don't get that. And this is not a kill Steven Matz segment, but I don't get how you. Being a human being, just you sleep on a couch, you're fine. I don't get the need of it. And compared to other sports, compared to hockey or football, where you have guys, you guys on the Rangers, you have Ryan McDonough with broken ankles and guys in Chris Kreider had 2 separated shoulders. No one, they're taking pain meds and popping them back in, going back on the ice and competing because they want to win, Lord Stanley's Cup. And these guys are on the cusp of doing something great for New York baseball, for the Mets franchise, and they can't do it because they slept on a couch wrong. Are you out of your mind? That bothers me a lot. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, the starting. So, right. So I would start Luis Severino. I'd have a quick hook, and then Tanaka's coming in. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. In that situation, if Tanaka was coming in, most likely we're probably going to be bounced anyway.
It was unfortunate because it was Tanaka's test run last night, and he went 5 innings and looked like crap. And because of that, I can't trust him. His hammy is an issue. Give him more rest. It's fine.
Another thing, too, is assuming
Severino has electric stuff.
Assuming that they win the games that they got to win, and they end up with the first wild card spot, which is probably how it's going to be right now. I mean, we're complaining that this team they're still most likely going to be wild card unless they do
if they win tonight, they're in. If they win in 2 hours, if they still think in 2 hours, they win. They're
most likely going to host a playoff game. So in this situation, if I know that the game is going to be played in Yankee Stadium, for the love of God, I don't want Tanaka on the mound because they're most likely going to be playing the Angels or the Astros,
right?
And both of those teams can mash,
right?
And it's like all it takes is not fluky. But all it takes is like a home run or two, and then Tanaka's giving up 3-4 runs, and all of a sudden, boom, that's it. Game's over. Like the game's out of reach.
Right.
All of a sudden, especially with the way the bullpen is played. I mean, like if Tanaka gives up 3 runs, everybody's like, "Oh, it's a great start," but then who knows what the bullpen is? Right now, it's a mixed bag.
The thing is this: has the Angels or the Astros seen Severino pitch at all?
Not a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Throw him out there. I'm not even sure. I can't remember.
I actually don't know.
I mean, they've definitely seen Tanaka. But
we haven't played the Angels in a while. We played the Angels kind of early in the season before Severino got here. So I don't think the Angels. The Astros we might have because I remember there was a set where they played a 3-game stretch at the end of August at the stadium.
Okay.
So I know I was there for a game that Pineda pitched, but I can't say who the other 2 starters
I know.
were.
I thought Tanaka pitched once and lost to them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Throw Severino that they've not seen, or they saw him maybe once.
Right now it seems like
his electric stuff. Throw him
seems
out
like
there.
we know what we're getting from Severino. 6 innings, 2 or 3 runs. That's it. And
he pitched very, very well since he's been up here. He's going to be in the Yankees for a very long time. He's a good pitcher.
He's a very good pitcher.
Throw him out there. The team hasn't seen him. If he gives you a couple quality innings, then we're great. I would even put Tanaka. If say Severino goes 5-6, put Tanaka in until you have to put Betances in the 8th. Just
I agree with that too.
Because to put it this way, you have to do whatever you can to win that game. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
You throw if you want to you have to throw your best pitchers out there to win.
That's another reason why I kind of like the one game because
there's a
lot of unconventional strategies that go into it.
And it takes away from a regular game. I want to see the best teams playing regular baseball. I don't want to see this garbage. This adding other players in and pinch. I don't want that.
No, I mean not everybody's gonna love it, but I don't love it. But at the same time, I really do like it, and I think it's a good compromise considering that they didn't really want to add more games and teams.
Right.
So it's like having the one team to it's fine.
Anything else you want to hit on the Yankees?
No, I'm worried about them, but for some reason they'll win the game. They'll make the playoffs.
So you're predicting a win?
Yeah,
I'm predicting a loss.
You think they're going to get swept?
They're going to get. No, what are you talking about? They lose the one game in playoff game. They're done.
Oh, we're talking about the playoffs. I thought you were talking about tonight. Oops.
Oh no! They'll win. I mean, they'll win tonight. They'll clinch the wild card
tonight.
But I'm saying for the Tuesday game, the 1-game playoff.
Right.
I'm not feeling too confident about it.
I don't feel confident either.
They're going to lose to a
pesky
team. If
they play the Angels, they're going to get smacked around.
If
they play the Astros, it'll be like one of those
They'll lose by a run. They'll lose by a run. Yeah, that'd be very frustrating. In our stadium.
I don't want to see the Angels. It's the one team I don't want to see. Because the Angels are that team that could just get hot.
Yeah, well, they have Trout, they have Pujols. They're pitching not great, but they have the offense there. I definitely think the World Series winner is coming from the National League.
I agree with that.
I think that's pretty easy to say. I don't think it's the Cardinals. Even the Cardinals won 200 games this year. I don't think it's the Cardinals. I am rooting for the Mets in a weird way.
I'm rooting for the Mets
and only team I'm rooting more for bless you.
I keep sneezing.
Only team I'm rooting more for than the Mets or the Cubs. I want to see the Cubs win. So I'm very for the Cubs. I'm very for the Mets.
If the Cubs win the World Series, I'd be so
happy.
Great.
It'd be great. They have a great team. And they're fun to watch. Arrieta's a great pitcher. Their offense is fantastic.
Arrieta, we got Lester. Big game Lester.
Yeah. So I want to definitely see that. I mean, that'd be what a great match that would be. So the Mets and the Cubs and a Diaz or something like that.
Do you know the 1-game playoff between the Pirates and the Cubs would probably be Cole and Arrieta? That's like top of the line stuff right there.
Should be a Yankee. When you think about that.
Yeah.
But
you know who else should be a Yankee? Mike Trout.
Well, they passed on him. So does Matt Harvey too. Matt Harvey asked him.
Yeah, we just passed on everybody good.
You know who will be a Yankee very soon is
Bryce Harper.
Exactly.
It's like we finished each other's
thoughts, sentences, whatever. That team imploded too. So that is that everything for baseball. We'll do our once we don't want to get
baseball picks next week.
We don't want to get too deep into obviously because the teams aren't set yet. So once they're in there, so next week's a big show because next week we're going to do baseball preview. I want to definitely do once NBA training camp has started. I believe yesterday or 2 days ago. We're going to do the Vegas odds. Vegas give out on Westgate, but maybe Bavada will have it out, but we're going to do the over-unders for certain teams. So we'll do like the Knicks over-under, where we're going to have them, teams like, the Cavs, the Warriors, the Brooklyn Nets, the teams around here. Any team you guys want, just tweet at us, and we'll pick those teams. Next week we'll do back to our game picks. What was the other thing we got to talk about? Oh, hockey's coming back. October 7th. October 7th, Rangers opening night, so we're going to get the hockey preview.
Next Wednesday, Rangers Blackhawks, baby.
It'll be very fun versus defending champs, so we're getting into that. So next week's going to be a really, really big show. We that may be the first and last show for a very long time where the NFL is not the number one top story for us, because we got a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, it was great. This is a really fun show, actually. This is one that you have to listen to. It was very, despite
you have to listen to them all.
We did agree. We had to listen to them all, but we did agree a lot. But we did have a lot of fun conversations, though, and our hot take of starting Luis Severino in the one-game playoff.
Hot takes.
Yeah, that's what we're about. Hot takes. Do you have any last words before we do the usual sign-off?
Yeah, I got to go blow my nose.
That's
it's nothing anybody wants to hear.
Wonderful. Anyway, as always, follow me at Edward L. Murphy on Twitter. Follow Joe at Joe_Calories92.
You got it.
And follow the homepage of our podcast at DNS_podcast, and go on www.dishingandswishing.com, because we bought the domain name like that, so we could have it forever. Read the blogs. We'll get more up as the season's going. Hockey and basketball starting, so I have way more of that. Maybe we'll do some NFL and
maybe we'll get
baseball preview.
Gene on here.
Yeah, Gene's the fat guy who's busy now. He's the Wolf of Wall Street, so he doesn't have time for us. He's big league now. But as usual, read our stuff, share it. Like us on Facebook as well. Dishing and Swishing podcast. Trying to think what else is going on. Listen to me on Sirius on Sunday, I believe.
Eddie's co-hosting shows now.
I believe we're doing. It's a pretty fun show. If you have the Sirius XM subscription, we're Sirius 207 XM86 in the NBA channel. We're going to do. You might like this one, Joe. Top 25 players in the NBA right now. If you like that, maybe we'll do that. Maybe one day we'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do our top 25 players. So that
would actually require a lot of advanced thought on my end.
Yeah, which Joe doesn't know how to think. So me, Gerald Brown, Howie C, we're going to give our top 25 players in the NBA, and we're going to debate them. That should be a lot of fun. I think everyone knows who number one is, but number two might have a surprise. I'm going to give you a little hint right now. My number two player in the NBA is not who you think it is. It's going to be something a little different. So that's a little teaser there. So listen to me on Sunday from 10 to 1. Besides that, listen to the show. It should be up in a couple hours or so. Be up right before the game tonight, the Ravens-Steelers game. So watch that, and before you do, listen to us, and then tweet at us. We didn't get any tweets during the show.
No, we did.
We did?
Yeah, Vic sent us a tweet.
Oh, what did he ask? This is the say the best for last. Vic, a loyal listener. What did Vic ask?
This is going to be so unexpected.
Tell me it's a hockey question.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Vic.
We'll get Vic in quick.
1 hour ago. Can Donald Trump make America great again?
Oh, of course.
I agree.
Donald Trump. We've already mentioned Donald Trump and Applebee's sponsor our podcast.
Yes.
So Applebee's is a loyal fan of us. So again, thank you, Donald Trump and Applebee's and Victor for tweeting us, and everyone else. Again, follow us at DNS_podcast, at Edward L. Murphy, at Joe_Calabrese92, and like the page on Facebook, and go on the site dishingswishing.com. It'll be up there. The second sign off. Thanks to everyone who listens. As always, next week, big show. Like I said, MLB preview, NHL preview, NBA over-unders, and a little bit of NFL as usual. So thanks as always, and Joe's last words where he has to blow his nose. So let him get to that right now. So
Cal's is back.
Cal's is back, guys, for good. See you next week.